Fire towers are essential infrastructure, manned during fire season, locked during winter. Except Tower 6. Tower 6 was abandoned mid-season in 1998. Not closed, abandoned. The ranger on duty left his coffee still warm, radio still on, and a single note in the logbook: the stairs count wrong. When the relief crew arrived, they counted 47 steps to the top. The original blueprints specified 52. 3 weeks later, 43 steps. 2 months later, 38. Tower 6 is still standing. But rangers won't explain why the stairs keep disappearing, or where the missing steps go. Fire towers don't just get abandoned. They're decommissioned with paperwork, environmental assessments, structural evaluations, official closure protocols. Tower 6 had none of that. One day it was operational, an active lookout station, critical fire detection infrastructure. The next day, empty, coffee still steaming, radio still transmitting, logbook open to a page with 5 words that made the Forest Service seal the entire file. And every ranger who's tried to understand what happened at Tower 6 has encountered the same impossible phenomenon. The stairs don't stay the same. Not deteriorating, not collapsing, disappearing. One step at a time, as if something is taking them, from the bottom up. Tonight we follow 3 accounts, each describing encounters with Tower 6, each ending with fewer stairs than when they started, and each revealing that the tower isn't losing steps to age or decay. It's losing steps to something that climbs. Something that's been climbing since 1998, getting closer to the top. One step at a time. The first account comes from Ranger Michael Reeves, the last ranger officially assigned to Tower 6. Reeves worked the tower for 3 seasons, 1995, 1996, and 1997. He was experienced, reliable, and showed no signs of psychological distress, according to his personnel file. On June 14, 1998, Reeves began what should have been his 4th season at Tower 6. He climbed the stairs at 6:47 a.m. Standard procedure: 52 steps from ground to platform. He'd climbed them hundreds of times over 3 years. His shift was scheduled to end at 6 p.m. Relief ranger would arrive, take over the watch, and Reeves would descend for his days off. At 5:47 p.m., Reeves radioed dispatch, Tower 6 to base. "I need to report a structural issue." Dispatch responded, "Go ahead, Tower 6. "The stairs. Something's wrong with the stairs." "Specify the issue." A pause. Then Reeves's voice, quieter, uncertain. "They don't count right." "Repeat that, Tower 6. "The stairs. I counted them this morning. 52 steps. I just counted again. 49 steps." Dispatch assumed a miscount. Fatigue. Long shift. "Tower 6. Recommend you wait for relief crew before descending. They'll arrive in approximately 30 minutes. "Copy that. But dispatch. I counted 3 times. 49 steps. 3 steps are missing." The relief ranger, Sarah Chan, arrived at 6:23 p.m. She climbed the stairs, counted as she went, a habit from training. Always count the steps, know your exit route, memorize the structure. She reached the platform. 47 steps. She radioed down to her partner at the base. "Did you count the stairs?" "Affirmative." 47. Chen entered the cab. Reeves was standing at the window, staring down at the staircase. "How many steps did you count?" she asked. Reeves turned. His face was pale, eyes wide, that hollow look of someone whose reality has fractured and not yet reformed. 52 this morning. 49 an hour ago. How many did you count just now?" 47. Reeves's hands started shaking, not from cold. The tower was warm from the day's sun. But from the way numbers had stopped being reliable, the way the stairs had become uncertain, the way solid steel had started to disappear. He grabbed the logbook, flipped back through his entries. June 14th, 6:47 a.m. Arrived, Tower 6. Stairs, 52, all systems normal. June 14th, 10:23 a.m. Morning patrol complete. Visibility excellent. Stairs, 52. June 14th, 2:34 p.m. Afternoon check. No smoke, no anomalies. Stairs, 51. June 14th, 4:15 p.m. Recounted stairs, 50. Possible miscount earlier. Will verify at shift end. June 14th, 5:45 p.m. Stairs, 49. Not a miscount. Steps are missing. Chen read the entries. Her throat went tight. That first recognition that something had shifted from explainable to impossible. You've been counting all day? I started after lunch. I came down to check the base anchor points. When I climbed back up, I counted 51 steps. I thought I'd miscounted in the morning. But I've climbed these stairs every day for 3 seasons. I know there are 52. Chen looked out the window at the staircase, spiraling down around the tower. Metal steps, steel framework, solid construction from 1967. Steps don't disappear. Maybe maintenance removed some for repair? Chen suggested, though she didn't believe it. No work orders, no crew, no equipment. And Chen, Reeves's voice dropped to a whisper, they're not being removed from the top down. They're disappearing from the bottom up. Chen felt ice flood her chest. What? Count from the top. 47 steps down to the ground. That's correct. But the ground is higher than it should be. The bottom of the staircase is closer to the platform. The missing steps are gone from the bottom, as if something climbed up and took them. Chen descended immediately. Counted carefully. 47 steps. At the bottom she knelt and examined the base anchor point. The staircase was bolted to a concrete pad. Standard installation, but the concrete showed marks, not damage, but compression. As if massive weight had been applied. As if something heavy had stood there. And the lowest step, step 47, showed scratches on the underside. Deep scratches. Running parallel. Like something with claws had gripped it from below. Chen radioed dispatch. Tower 6 relief crew to base. We need structural engineers at this location immediately. The staircase is... I don't know how to explain this. Steps are missing. We need someone to verify. The engineering team arrived the next morning. They brought the original 1967 blueprints. Blueprint specification, 52 steps. Verified by the construction foreman in 1967. Documented in 3 separate inspection reports from 1968, 1979, and 1991. Current count, 47 steps. The engineers measured everything. Elevation from ground to platform, correct. Distance between remaining steps, correct. Metal composition, standard steel, no corrosion, no stress fractures. 5 steps were simply gone. Not cut, not removed, not collapsed. Gone. And when they examined the base anchor point, they found the compression marks Chen had noticed. And something else. The concrete pad had been installed in 1967 at ground level, but the pad was now elevated, 18 inches above the surrounding ground, as if the earth around it had been excavated, or as if something had pushed up from underneath, raising the concrete pad and the attached staircase. The Forest Service ordered Tower 6 abandoned that afternoon. No official explanation. Just an immediate evacuation order. Reeves never returned to Tower 6. Chen never returned to Tower 6. The engineering team never returned to Tower 6. And in Reeves's final logbook entry, written before he descended those 47 steps for the last time, he added one sentence. Whatever is climbing doesn't need the steps anymore. It's almost here. The second account is darker, more invasive, more documented, and it involves a structural engineer who returned to Tower 6 3 weeks after the abandonment to verify the step count. This is the story of Dr. James Whitlock, who specialized in steel structure degradation and refused to believe that steps could disappear without physical cause. On July 8, 1998, 3 weeks after the abandonment, Whitlock obtained authorization to visit Tower 6 with a full documentation team. He brought high-resolution cameras, laser measurement equipment, metallurgical testing gear, 3 assistant engineers. Their mission: document the tower's condition, explain the missing steps, restore operational status if possible. They arrived at 9:34 a.m. Before ascending, they counted the steps from the ground. 43 steps. 4 fewer than Chen had counted 3 weeks earlier. Whitlock's hands started to shake as he wrote in his field notebook. Not from fear, not yet, but from the way engineered structures had stopped following physical laws. Run the laser measurement, he ordered. They measured from ground level to platform. Height, exactly as specified in the 1967 blueprints. But with only 43 steps. Which meant the steps were now spaced farther apart than standard stair construction allowed, too far apart for safe climbing. Yet the spacing between each remaining step was correct, standard rise and run measurements. The space wasn't being distributed, the steps were just fewer. Whitlock made a decision. He would climb to the platform, document from above, and solve this. He began climbing at 9:52 a.m. His team counted his ascent. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. At step 15, Whitlock stopped. "Do you hear that?" he called down. His team listened. Below the tower, below the concrete pad, they heard it. Scraping, metal on stone, rhythmic, methodical. Something was moving underneath the tower. Whitlock continued climbing. His chest tight, his hands gripping the railings harder than necessary, his body screaming at him to descend, while his mind insisted on documentation, on proof, on rational explanation. He reached the platform at 10:07 a.m. 43 steps climbed. He entered the cab. Reeves's coffee mug was still on the desk, still half full. The coffee had evaporated, leaving residue. The radio was still on, tuned to the emergency frequency, crackling with static. The logbook was open to Reeves's final entry. Whitlock photographed everything. Then he went to the window and looked down at the staircase. And his blood turned to ice. From above, he could see what Chen couldn't from below. The staircase didn't end at the ground. It continued. Downward. Below the concrete pad, below the visible earth. The stairs descended into darkness, into a hole that shouldn't exist. He could see the tops of steps 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52. All disappearing down into the earth, as if the tower had been built on top of something, or as if something had pulled the bottom of the staircase underground. Whitlock radioed his team. "Excavate the base. I need to see what's under that concrete pad." "Sir, we don't have authorization to—" "Do it, now!" The team began digging around the concrete pad. 18 inches down, they hit something. Not earth, not rock. Metal. More stairs. Continuing down into the ground. They excavated carefully, exposing steps 44, 45, 46. Each step identical to the ones above. Same steel, same construction, same weathering pattern. But descending into earth that had been undisturbed since before the tower was built. One of Whitlock's assistants, a young engineer named Sarah Voss, knelt beside the exposed steps. "Dr. Whitlock," she called up. These steps show compression marks on the top surface. Recent marks. Something heavy has been climbing these. Whitlock felt his vision tunnel, peripheral gray closing in. That first stage of panic where the body tries to protect itself by shutting down non-essential processing. He descended the stairs, counted as he went. 43 steps from platform to ground level. Then he continued. Down the exposed steps. 44. 45. 46. His team's flashlights illuminated the descent. The stairs continued down into a cavity, not a natural cave, but an artificial space, carved, hollowed out. Big enough for the stairs. Big enough for something to climb. At step 52, the last step, the original ground level from 1967, Whitlock stopped. He was now 10 feet underground. The stairs ended, but the cavity continued downward. And at the bottom of the cavity, 15 feet below the current ground level, Whitlock saw it. A gap. A vertical shaft. Perfectly round, 4 feet in diameter. Descending into darkness too deep for his flashlight to penetrate. And around the edge of the shaft, carved into the stone, tally marks. Hundreds of them, thousands of them, counting up. The marks went from the bottom of the visible shaft upward, covering every inch of stone, as if something was counting its ascent. Whitlock's legs wouldn't move. His body had locked up. Some primal response to standing above something that should not exist, something that had been counting, something that had been climbing. His assistant called down, "Dr. Whitlock, we need to leave. The excavation is unstable." But Whitlock couldn't move, because he realized what he was seeing. The tower hadn't been built in 1967. The tower had been built on top of something that was already there. The stairs weren't disappearing. They were being reclaimed. Something had been climbing since before 1967. Climbing from whatever existed at the bottom of that shaft. Using the tower's stairs. And it had been counting every step. 52 steps to climb when the tower was built. Now 43 steps remaining. 9 steps claimed. 9 steps pulled back down into the shaft. 9 steps closer to the platform. Whitlock finally moved. He scrambled up the stairs, his team pulling him out of the excavation. They left everything: equipment, tools, documentation. They drove away from Tower 6 and never returned. Whitlock's official report stated, Tower 6 exhibits structural anomalies inconsistent with standard engineering principles. Recommend permanent closure and restricted access. His sealed report, the one that ended his career when he tried to publish it, said, "Something is using Tower 6 to climb. It has been climbing since at least 1967, possibly much longer. The stairs are being taken from the bottom up. At current rate of 1 step per week, the entity will reach the platform in approximately 43 weeks. Recommend demolition before completion of ascent." The Forest Service did not demolish Tower 6. They just stopped talking about it. The third account is the most disturbing, because it comes from a ranger who visited Tower 6 in 2023, 25 years after the abandonment, to verify that it was still standing and still empty. This is the story of Ranger Marcus Webb, who made the mistake of climbing the stairs one more time. Tower 6 is still marked on Forest Service maps. Still listed as infrastructure. Still technically operational. But no one is assigned to it. No one patrols near it. No one discusses it except in sealed files. Webb had worked the district for 8 years. He'd heard rumors about Tower 6. Whispers in break rooms. Stories about disappearing stairs and something climbing. He didn't believe in ghosts or impossibilities. He believed in verification. On October 3, 2023, Webb hiked to Tower 6. It took 4 hours through unmaintained trails. The tower had been cut off from vehicle access years ago. The fire road blocked with barriers, the trail officially closed. But the tower was still there. Rust-stained, weathered, surrounded by forests that had grown thick and close in 25 years without ranger presence. And the stairs. Webb counted them from the ground. 19 steps. 25 years since the abandonment. 9 steps missing in 1998. 24 years at approximately 1 step per year. 33 steps should have been taken. Webb's field notes show his calculation. 52 original, 33 removed, equals 19 remaining, matches observation. Rate of disappearance, approximately 1.4 steps per year. He should have left. But Webb was methodical, thorough, the kind of ranger who believed documentation and evidence could explain anything. He began climbing. At step 7, he noticed the scratches. Deep gouges in the metal, on the underside of each step, running parallel. Claw marks. Fresh claw marks. Not oxidized, not weathered, recent. His hands started shaking. His peripheral vision began to tunnel. But he continued climbing. At step 12, he heard it. Below him, below the ground. Scraping, metal on stone. Something climbing. Below the visible stairs. Something following his ascent. Webb froze. Every instinct screaming at him to descend, to run, to get away from this tower, and whatever was beneath it. But he was more than halfway up. The platform was closer than the ground. He climbed faster. 14, 15, 16. The scraping sound grew louder, faster. Whatever was below was matching his pace. 17, 18. 1 step left. Webb grabbed the platform railing and pulled himself up. 19 steps climbed. He stood on the platform, gasping, hands trembling, looking down at the staircase. And he saw it, at the base of the visible stairs, at step 19, where his foot had just been. The metal was bending. Not rusting, not breaking. Bending inward, as if something was gripping it from below, pulling it down. Webb watched as step 19 slowly deformed, the metal screaming with stress, until the step tore free from its bolts and disappeared below the ground level. 18 steps remaining. The scraping sound stopped. Silence. Webb's radio crackled. Base to Webb. Report your status. He couldn't speak. His throat had closed. His hands were shaking so violently he dropped the radio. He crawled to the cab door, opened it. Inside, Reeves' coffee mug, empty now. The radio, dead after 25 years. The logbook, open to the final page. But there was a new entry. Written below Reeves's final note. Fresh ink, recent handwriting. 18. Webb's vision went white. His body flooded with adrenaline. Fight or flight chemicals dumping into his bloodstream faster than his heart could pump. He stumbled out of the cab. Looked down at the stairs. 17 steps. As he watched, step 17 began to bend. He had minutes, maybe seconds. Webb ran to the edge of the platform and jumped. Not to the stairs. They were disappearing too fast. To the tree beside the tower. A thick pine that had grown close to the platform over 25 years. He caught a branch. Scrambled down through pine limbs, falling more than climbing, bark tearing his hands and face. He hit the ground hard, rolled, looked up at the tower. 16 steps remaining. Then 15, 14. The steps were disappearing rapidly now, one every few seconds, metal screaming as each was pulled into the earth. 13, 12, 11. Webb ran. He ran through 4 hours of trail in 90 minutes, stumbling, gasping, not stopping until he reached his vehicle. From his truck, he radioed dispatch. "This is Webb. Tower 6 is... Something's at Tower 6. The stairs are gone. Something took them. All of them. Send a team." Dispatch sent a helicopter crew 3 days later. Their aerial report showed Tower 6 still standing. But the staircase was gone. Not collapsed, not dismantled. Gone. The platform stood 60 feet in the air. Unreachable. Isolated. And at the base of the tower, where the concrete pad used to be, the ground showed a perfect circular depression. 4 feet in diameter. 15 feet deep. Recently disturbed, as if something large had emerged. As if something that had been climbing for decades had finally reached the top, had finally completed the ascent, and had moved on. Today, Tower 6 is not marked on public maps. The fire road is permanently closed. Rangers are instructed to stay at least 1 mile from the tower's location. No explanation is given. No official records exist of the disappearing stairs, the excavation, or Webb's 2023 visit. Just a single notation in the district's restricted files. Tower 6, infrastructure decommissioned 1998, location restricted. No personnel access authorized, reason redacted. But Rangers talk. In break rooms after midnight shifts, over coffee before dawn patrols. They know what Tower 6 really was. It wasn't a fire lookout tower. It was a cap. Built in 1967 over something that was already there. Something that had been climbing for decades, maybe centuries. Using whatever was available to ascend. And the tower provided 52 convenient steps. Steps that it took, one at a time, slowly, methodically. Counting its ascent with tally marks in stone. Until it reached the platform, until it finished climbing, until it emerged. Some rangers believe it's still in the forest, somewhere, looking for the next thing to climb. Some believe it returned below, that the shaft at Tower 6's base leads somewhere vast and deep, where things climb forever, emerging only when structures are built that provide access. And some believe the most disturbing theory, that Tower 6 isn't the only tower, that other fire towers were built on top of other shafts. Other climbing things. Still taking steps. Still counting. Still ascending. Getting closer to their platforms. 1 step at a time. And when they reach the top, when they finish their count, they emerge. If you ever see a fire tower that's marked on old maps, but not on new ones, if you count the stairs and the number doesn't match the blueprints, if you hear scraping beneath the ground while you climb, don't reach the top. Turn back. Descend immediately. Because some towers aren't lookouts. They're access points. And something has been climbing since before we built them. Counting every step, waiting for the count to finish, waiting to emerge. And Tower 6 was just the first one to complete the ascent.